Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Welcome, everybody, another amazing Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show, and I've got Joe Solomon here today, and he is a man. I'm just getting to know this guy, but I'm a channeler. I kind of know a couple of things about people in advance. So this guy is just pure connection with source. He's got that access. At least, hey, we're all got our impurities, but he runs this wonderful energy and his flow, and his heart is amazing. He's got a heart of gold. And I look forward to, and I know he has incredible knowledge and information to share with us. So don't you guys want to be more prosperous and to know how to allow more money in and to be able to know in advance, like, how would I utilize that, the energy of that money, right? How do I get aligned with that so I can let it in the first place? Otherwise, what will I do with millions of dollars? I don't know. Okay, we're going to help you with that during this show. So we're going to get right into it in just 1 second here. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. So good to see you today, Joel.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you, Daniel. It's great to be here on your show. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So let me tell you all about Joel. Joel is a finance and mindful money expert and master prosperity coach who helps others overcome obstacles standing in the way of their financial freedom. He is an award-winning speaker, workshop facilitator, and frequent television and podcast guest who has been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, Newsday, U.S. News and World Report, and interviewed in Forbes and on Bloomberg Radio. As manager of a $700 million portfolio, he's worked with a little bit of money, So the creator of his own successful hedge fund and author of 3 best-selling books, Infinite Love and Money, The 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use, and Mindful Money Management. Joel is an expert in the field of finance and the mindset of money. Just as he teaches in his books and seminars, the true foundation of wealth and financial freedom is a mindset of abundance, self-worth, gratitude, love, and service. We can always make money in other ways, but who in the world would want to do that anymore, right? So we've got to come from the deeper place. Joel's all about that. So we're really looking forward to sharing with you. Solomor is his website. We'll talk more about what you can access there. But Solomor, we'll put it in the show notes for you to be able to access more of his secrets, more of the secrets he has to share. So, Joel, it's a great pleasure, like I said, to have you today. Now, tell us about yourself, like mostly like what comes in my head, probably erroneously, but I'm like, people have this big money background and hedge funds and everything. Oh, they can't possibly be all that incredibly spiritual. And, like that's like in my subconscious, okay, maybe they're highly intuitive and all that with money, of course, but how would they be really good? Otherwise, it's probably primarily how they do it anyway. So I understand that part, but like, they're probably not that conscious, like all that sort of ideas in the back of my head. But so I'm kind of it's really curious when I have somebody on the show like yourself, like, how did you get started, like with this whole, money management thing? And then how did you get to where you are now? So I'd love to hear a bit about your story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, my company, Solomor, is named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. And they were just born yesterday, but they're about to turn 19 and 17. So named my company after them. Time goes like that, right? So yeah, I actually also named my hedge fund after them as well, as it was Solomor Capital. But if you had asked me back in 1992 what my dream was, I was working at an insurance company coding. If you'd asked me what my dream was back then, I would have said hedge fund manager or money manager.
Mhm.
but I was working in an insurance company coding, and there was no clear path from there to money management. So anyway, long story short, I followed my dream with a lot of doubts. A lot of people doubted me, and I teach now hashtag doubt the doubt. Have faith in your dreams and desires. Don't have faith in your doubts. And so I followed my dream with the hiccups along the way. That's why it took 15 years. Now my long road can lead to others shortcut, because I can teach them the obstacles and doubts that I had to overcome to lead to my dream. So it took me 15 years, but I did achieve the dream. I started working at Citi, a large investment bank, in 2008. And you may remember 2008 was not the best year in the stock market.
Yeah.
The market was down 40%. Financial companies, the only ones I was invested in, were down 57%. We managed to make a little bit of money in 2008. 2009 was a better year. And I tell people I might actually still be at Citi if there wasn't a law passed that banks can't own hedge funds. So we were all laid off. And that actually gave me the kick in the butt to start my own company, which was my true dream. So Solomore was started. I started launching, raising capital, and finding the service providers in 2012, and launched in 2013. And again, I might still be doing that if I hadn't decided to go. I might still be doing that right now if I hadn't decided to go to a personal development course in December 2015. Now, to answer your question fully, I consider myself a spiritual guy over the long term. And so I'd say I really got into a lot of this stuff back in the 2000s. I read a lot. Before I was a hedge fund manager, I probably read 20 books a year. Now I read 50 to 70 books a year. And a lot of the books I read in the 2006, 7, 8 period were The Secret and Think and Grow Rich, and a lot of Napoleon Hill books that I tell people my angel gave me. It was a woman I met after my divorce on a first date, who maybe saw in me what I didn't see in me yet. And she asked me if I knew Napoleon Hill, and I said no. And she gave me, on the second date, not only Think and Grow Rich, but The Master Key to Riches and The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, all by Napoleon Hill, all very spiritual, uplifting, powerful books. And so I never saw her again, actually. But she, as I look back at now, she was my angel. I went out with her twice. She gave me 3 books, which I have to this day. And I've read Think and Grow Rich 28 times, and the others probably at least 10 times. And Think and Grow Rich, if your listeners and watchers don't know, it's not just about being rich. It's about the spiritual laws of prosperity.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that got me into it, I'd say, back then. And I just continued to get deeper and deeper into it as I was managing money. And I realized about belief and intuition as I was managing money. Intuition, I just would get these intuitive hits all the time, managing money, which I enumerate it in a lot of detail in the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use. I've gotten some haters of the book because they don't really understand intuitive hits, and they think it's, there's the woo people who are in my life and the not so woo. And so the woo people get it, right?
Right,
But
right.
the not so woo people definitely think I'm a bit out there. But that's one of the rules in there, is trust your intuition. It's a powerful force. So anyway, let me continue the story. I went to this personal development course, and I went because it was 3 years into my hedge fund, and we were doing well, but I wanted to raise more money. And I went to the course, and we had a guest speaking for 1 hour about stocks and stock options. And when he spoke about options in particular, he made it sound easy. He said, you don't need much time, you don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich. Options are essentially risk-free. And I was sick to my stomach. There were 200 people in the room. People fit more than 50 ran to the back of the room to sign up for his course.
Mm.
And people were tapping me on the shoulder, whispering in my ear, Joel, does this make sense? Are options really risk-free? So after he was done, we went out of the auditorium. I told him, please don't do this. He has no idea about any of you individually. And most importantly, he doesn't know about your belief that you could become rich using options. And I went home that night. I couldn't sleep. It was 3:34 in the morning. About 4:30, it hit me. I jumped up, got out of bed, quickly got dressed. I commuted into Manhattan where my office was. And I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I figured out my true purpose in life.
Wow.
So, and that true purpose is teaching the truth about money, not lying to people, not lying to people on stage, but being authentic and telling them the truth and being of service to others. And so that's, now my lawyer and my CFO were not happy with me that day, but, and it took a year through 2016 to shut down the funds, but eventually we did. And so I've been coaching people and teaching people about the truth about money and how, you know, belief and intuition are the two most important things, right? And so it's really important to understand yourself and understand your beliefs and understand how you can tap into your higher self to make really powerful decisions. And when you tap into that intuition, I truly believe that you're tapping into, you know, source consciousness to make those kinds of decisions. So did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great. Wow. Yeah, to shut everything down like just like that just really shows when this deeper call came to you, this deeper sense of calling came to you, like you just, no question about it, you just responded like right away. And I think that's really amazing. Did you feel like it was no big deal at the time in a way? Like, I mean, like I know you were sensitive to impact other people, but at the same time, inwardly, did you just feel like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do? It's so clear to me. And or were you kind of like, yeah, I'm going to do it, but wow, man, this is crazy. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Or did you question it much, or was it really clear?
You know, I mean, the initial decision was clear, but then after you make the decision, there's doubts afterwards. So
Right.
I sent the email and I had the conversation with my lawyer, my CFO, and my analyst, and so it was a knowing that that's the route I have to take. But then there was doubts. Well, wait a second, how am I actually going to make money at this? And can I truly, a lot of people I want to help, and it even happens to this day. My daughter asked me this like 5 years ago. My daughters are very smart. They said to me, so Dad, how do you help people and make money doing it when they are struggling with money issues? Right. And so I have a whole value chain, and I give a lot away. People can go on my mailing list and get a free video every week, and you know, they can buy an ebook for $5, right? So they can spend very little amounts of money and get some significant change. But if they want, you know, really to get access to me in a deeper way, that's when they have to pay more. But the idea is to help as many people as possible through low priced offerings so that, you know, they can change their money mindset, move to financial freedom, and know, like you said earlier, a lot of people who I interact with have this issue. Can you be spiritual and rich?
Right.
And I say, absolutely. And I'm just one small example, but you know, there's a lot of very spiritual people in my life and you know, throughout the world that are making significant amounts of money. They don't talk about it. You know, they're the spiritual gurus. They're also making money with their courses and speaking engagements, and sometimes they get paid $50,000 for an hour, you know, to come in and speak because they're so well known and they have such big impact. right? So I think the most spiritual people in the world can be quite rich, and it's good to be rich. Some people have a really negative connotation with the word rich, so say wealthy or financial abundance. But I teach my clients, how great would it be to have $10 million?
Right.
Even if your financial freedom number is 1 million, give 9 away, make an impact on the world, right? I think it's actually being selfish to not generate as much abundance as you can in your life,
Right.
because you can't help others if you can't help yourself first.
Right. Well, some people would argue, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I love what you already kind of countered it, but like would say, why do you need so much? You know, you don't need so much money.
Right. I actually watched a documentary this past weekend. In fact, the topic of my email today was about this, being rich and spiritual, because I watched this documentary, and this government official was talking about the CEO who basically was making $12 million and said, $12 million? Why should anyone ever make $12 million? It's an absurd amount of money. Like, it's ridiculous that this guy's making this much money. What could he possibly do to create that amount of wealth for himself? It's ridiculous. And this is a government worker, but the point being that he believes that no one's worth that, and I believe everyone should be worth that, because money is just an exchange of energy. And if you're providing significant amount of energy to others, if you can help 10,000 people become financially free so that they can do things like feed tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people around the globe, or provide clean water for 1 million people, what's that worth?
Right.
I mean, to me, that's priceless. And so $10 million or $12 million is a drop in the bucket, literally.
Right. Really. Yeah. If you come from a bigger perspective, right, what that can do. Yeah. People, there's so many money hangups, correct? I mean, so many different money hangups. One of them is one of those big ones in this crowd is, the sense of conflict between spirituality and money that you referenced a few times. And, I've worked with this for a long time with myself and other people. And I asked an audience, well, it was just like 19 people. I remember asking an audience once in person, I said, and they're all like, some of the, I mean, relative to, like my industry and whatnot, like overall, like they were pretty successful, most like a good handful of the people in there at least. And then the rest, whatever. But like I asked them, who in here has like conflicts between spirituality and money? And every single hand came up. Every single hand. I didn't try to coerce them into everybody raised their hand. So it's a kind of this universal thing, especially if you've been a lot of the religions. I mean, I don't know, Christianity at least, right? It's like, well, you can't be poor, a poor man, can't enter heaven and all this sort of thing. And like, that's not what the Bible's saying. And like it totally isn't saying that. So it's just the opposite, really, if you study it in depth, right? The truth of it. And but yeah, there's all these this programming we received around being spiritual and making a lot of money. And so what are some of the things you do to help people though with that one particular challenge that they have?
Yeah, so I teach a lot. I'm a certified infinite possibilities trainer. IP stands for infinite possibilities. I don't know if you know Mike Dooley.
Yes.
Yeah, so I infuse the concepts of thoughts become things and beliefs into everything I do. And so, okay, how is this belief serving you or not serving you? Right? So if the belief is rich people can't be spiritual, well, I'll give you Mike Dooley as the perfect example of a spiritual guy who's very rich, right? And there are, many spiritual leaders. I mean, is Oprah spiritual?
Right.
I think so.
Right.
She's worth billions, right? So there's many examples, and she's given, billions away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's many examples. So the idea is, how do you shift that belief?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
belief is just a thought you keep on thinking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we got to change the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So one way is to use actually Andy Dooley, Mike's brother's powerful reframe:
Mm-hmm.
stop, cancel, clear, get the fear out of here.
Right,
Or you could use the other F word.
right, right. Well, that's what I was thinking when he said it that way, right? Get the F out of here.
Right, right. So it's just a slight change into the thinking. When you have a thought, or any thought that's a fearful thought, you can
Mm-hmm.
shift it
Mm-hmm.
into a faithful thought. And in fact, chapter 3 in the 9 money rules is called
Mm-hmm.
choose faith over fear.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice all day, every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So with money, I mean, the last 2.5 years, 3 years have been a perfect example for me, for the world. My book came out in 2019. It was timely. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so then the world shifted. And how are you acting in your daily life?
Mm-hmm.
Are you acting in faith that you're going to be healthy and you're going to live a long life, or are you assuming that you're going to get sick and die?
Right.
And so the same thing with money. Are you assuming that you're going to have little money, or are you assuming you're going to be abundant and prosperous? What are the actions you're taking on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
that, you can check your actions? One of my clients literally was taught growing up that when he went to brush his teeth in the morning and at night, that he should have a wooden board at the end of the tube of toothpaste and push the toothpaste forward so that he didn't miss a little bit of toothpaste.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a prosperous, conscious way of living, or is it a poverty conscious way of living?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what other things are you doing? Last year, a lot of people told me that, and there were signs everywhere, as gas prices went through the roof, that people weren't filling up their gas tanks anymore. Like, I would just go to the gas tank and fill her up, right?
Right.
Or if I
Mm-hmm.
was doing it myself, then if I was filling it up myself, usually $50 would fill my tank.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just used $50 and I realized it was only filling half my tank because the price had doubled. Right.
That's
So,
funny. Yeah.
so how are you acting on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
to be in alignment with prosperity,
Mm-hmm. Right.
or in alignment with lack and scarcity?
Right. Right. Because
So
I mean,
check your
again,
actions.
yeah, I mean, again, it gets back to, yeah, the people talk about the economy and all this stuff, and that's a bunch of stuff as usual too, because we've all heard this too, like the most billionaires are created in the hardest times, and that's true. And so it's because people who take advantage of the opportunities that are available are always prospering and can prosper even more because there's more opportunities when there's supposedly an economic downturn. Like, yeah, okay, they do all these mass numbers of the economy, and this number went up, and all these numbers are going up. Okay, there's more money in circulation. That's what creates inflation. So, what's the problem? There's more money in circulation. So yes, there's inflation. It's just, but that's not what we're conditioned to believe. Like, oh, inflation. Oh my God, we're gonna die. Like.
Exactly. So, I will, just my personal experience, I made more money in 2008 and 2009 than any other 2-year period in my life.
Yeah.
Those was the worst. They call it the Great Recession. It was the
Right.
worst downturn we've had it since the Great Depression.
Right.
So yes, exactly. There are opportunities. So how do you look at things? Oh, everyone's very concerned about 2023 is in the economic slowdown.
Mhm.
But I will tell my clients that it doesn't matter what's going on in the economy. It only matters what's going on in your head.
Right.
And what are your thoughts and what are your beliefs? If you believe, as Daniel, you just said, that this is a great opportunity to be prosperous, then you will be,
Right.
if you take action and you keep consistent with your beliefs and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But if you believe that, oh my God, 2023, look, recession's coming, inflation's still high. Oh my God, how am I going to get clients? How am I going to make money? If those are your thoughts all day, every day, I think it's going to be really hard for you to make money and get a lot of clients.
Right.
So check your actions are really powerful because they're a tell on what you're thinking. If you're not really self-aware and you don't know what you're thinking and believing, just check your actions throughout the day. I was taught growing up, we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. That's too expensive. I even got screamed at for keeping the light on in my room when we left the house. Joel, we're not a shareholder of Long Island Lighting Company. Shut that light off.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure most people who are watching and listening had the same experience, but those thoughts and those words do not serve you. And if they're going through your head now, they're not serving you now. So keep the light on.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody okay, this is where I'm going to totally agree with you, and also, also illuminate other truths. Like, what makes you feel prosperous? Maybe you feel amazing squeezing out that last little bit in your tube. Maybe you feel prosperous doing that. I don't know. Like, so I wouldn't tell somebody you shouldn't feel that way, but what's really informing that decision is more where I come from. Like, okay, oh my God, running up that bill. No, that's scarcity. But if you're like, I just like to be efficient, I just like to have them off, when I'm not using it, that's fine. But it is watch like what energy or what thoughts you're having around it. I think is more where it is from my view. I mean, is that where kind of where you're coming from?
Absolutely. I mean, here's another example. One of my clients came to me and said, early on, the yogurt. I went on vacation for a week. I had one yogurt left. It's expired, but I decided to have it anyway. I don't want to waste it.
Right.
So he's risking getting sick, but
we will not waste.
Well, I don't want to waste the pint of yogurt. I'm like, dude, like that thinking is not serving you.
Yeah.
Right. Just buy a new yogurt. Right. It's like he's not being efficient. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes, absolutely. What's the thinking behind it? What's the feeling? And most importantly, what's the feeling behind it?
Right.
Because it's feeling first, manifestation second. Right. So if you're feeling abundant and prosperous, you're feeling like you already have your dream car, dream house, or dream vacation, you're already there, you're feeling it, you're in alignment with that vibration, then it's coming.
Now, what is it that you've done? So you're a tuned in spiritual person, and you've read these books and done all this personal development work, etc. You've made a lot of money. You've helped other people to increase their net worth and their money supply and prosperity consciousness first and foremost. Because I've known people with millionaires, and they're the poorest people in the world, by the way, right? And you two have too. Like, they could be even billionaires, and they could be the poorest people in the world because they're even more fearful, right? Oh my God, I gotta make more. I gotta keep this money. I gotta keep it going. I met those people, right? And I'm like, wow, you would think, with all the opportunities you've created for yourself financially, you would be finally feeling better about money, right? But no, it's almost like they say, it makes you more of whatever you already are, right? So if you're already really fearful and you create money from that, you're going to be more fearful with more money. So what Joel, shares around getting aligned with true prosperity is so important, because otherwise, how are you going to experience it even if it does grow? Then how are you going to experience it? You're going to experience it as more lack if you're creating it from lack. Is that what you've seen, Joel?
Absolutely. It's a really important point. And rule number 5 in the 9 money rules is giving. And so I actually recommend creating flow, because money's just energy. And it may be counterintuitive, but I tell my clients when they're feeling most in lack to give.
Yeah.
To put it out into the world, because money's just energy. I don't know if you've ever heard the name Sir John Templeton.
Yes.
Sir John was, some say, the best investor of all time. He started the Templeton funds with just a few $1,000s, and he grew it and sold the Templeton funds to the Franklin mutual funds for almost $1 billion in the 1990s. He said he hadn't met any millionaire who hadn't given at least 10% of his earnings each year over a 10-year period, who
Yeah.
didn't have massively more wealth at the end of the 10 years than at the beginning.
Yeah, I just heard that recently. So that's cool. The message came to me again today.
Yeah. So no coincidences, only synchronicities, right?
Right, right.
So and people ask me, Joel, like, you're recommending giving money away? I barely have any. How can I give? And I say, well, money's just energy, and when you put it out there, it will flow back to you. But if you're hoarding, you're keeping it close, there's no flow.
Right,
It's like with anything, right?
right,
If you don't creating flow, then there's no abundance.
right.
Right? So that's rule number 5, and it's worked. And the other thing is, we talked about feelings, right? So it creates a different subconscious feeling of, I have plenty to spare and share when you give. And I've done it in my own life, and a lot of times I just teach people money mindset. I teach investing, I teach manifesting, but some people just they're living, even though they're prosperous in, what you would consider abundant, they consider, like we talked about with the millionaires and billionaires who are like, hoarding and fearful and worried all day, every day.
Yeah.
That's not abundance. Right. And so this guy came to me and knew he had an issue. He didn't know he knew I could help him with his money mindset. He didn't know exactly what it was. But one of the big recommendations I had for him was to give when he was feeling most fearful and most in lack, to give. And now he texted me on Christmas that he went around his town to find people at bus stops to give them some money. It was just like his giving program for Christmas. And that just warmed my heart, because he's changed his mindset so dramatically in a year. Whereas he would have taken the money from those people, a year ago.
Wow, that's amazing. I do remember Tony Robbins' story, right? Like when he was struggling financially, he always tells this story that he was at a restaurant or something, and he paid for the bill, I don't want to get too deep into the story, but anyway, he paid for this person's bill. He gave the last money he had in his pocket, and supposedly maybe that he had overall, and like the next day he got like a check for $1,000 or something, and he said he learned at that moment, and he was in such joy, such genuine joy of giving that last money, and with no concern about like, well, where am I going to get it now, but so I think it definitely is something that has to be done with some sincerity, because if you're like, well, let me just do this thing and try it out and see if I start making more money because I'm giving now, like that is not the concept. You're still not in the flow, really,
Right.
like it's still a nice thing to do, but it's not being really in that flow. So we want to, I'm asking you too, but like, I pretty much kind of know this, but like, you've got to give it from that sense of abundance. You do everything from abundance, right? I mean, that's one of the principles.
I talk about if you're giving because you feel like it's required.
You're right.
Versus from your heart.
Right.
It's the same concept. If you're giving because it's required, that's from a point of lack, and you're giving from lack, as opposed to giving from the heart, where it's giving from abundance.
Right. Yeah. So now, could it be, let's just dwell on this just one more moment, is like, could you go like, I mean, most people say you can't outgive God and all. I've heard all those kind of ideas, but like, I mean, you could theoretically go too far if you're doing it in a weird way, right? Let me just give all my money away, and you're just like wildly crazy about it. So I think there's something about an energy alignment with how you're doing it. Is that not true?
Absolutely. Although there is a great story from Buckminster Fuller 100 years ago, who's an architect. I don't know if you ever heard the name, but also a famous author. And he decided at some point that each month, whatever money he made, he was going to give it away.
Oh, great.
At the end of every month, whatever $1,000 or $2,000 he made, he gave it away. And
Mhm.
knowing, just believing in his heart of hearts that more money would come each month. And he did this for
Mhm.
many, many years. And
Mhm.
so it's back to belief, right? What do
Mhm.
you believe?
Mhm.
And coming from a place of abundance, he felt abundant,
Mhm.
believed that money was available.
Mhm.
But I I do think, like you said, you have to do things with reality. Physical reality has an impact, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
unfortunately, we're living in this three-dimensional world. Even
Mhm.
though I think 5D, right? We're moving to
Right,
5D, but
right.
we're all in this three-dimensional world, so we have to live in the constraints of this 3D world, or at least for the time being.
We have to be centered is how I see it. So we have to be centered. We can't just like mentally think this is gonna work. I'll just do this and that'll work. And then or get so wildly out of our connection and just be like, well, let's give it all away. And like this that kind of energy either. But when we're centered and we're trusting and we're abundant, then we're willing to give. I love that you share that. When you're feeling like you can't give, then that's absolutely the time to give the most, right? I love that. I love that. So
And
key.
and I'm not saying give all your money away. I'm saying like start with some small amount. Like if you're
Right.
feeling really lacking,
Hmm.
like there are people around the world that would love to be in your shoes for even just one day.
Right,
You're
exactly.
living the dream life of some billion, probably at least a billion people on this earth,
Right.
right? So
Right.
no matter, like anyone who's watching or listening to this, I'm pretty sure that's true.
Right.
Right. So give a little bit. Like you're feeling really scared and lack, and like your situation is really dire. You think,
Hmm.
give $5. You
Right.
know, somebody is in need for those $5 much more than you are.
Right. Yeah, I've been extra aware of that for some reason lately. I've been like, man, I'm like living a dream every day, like no matter what my finances may be at any given moment or my perception of them, right? Like even with a growing business, but it's like whatever's happening, like my God, I'm just so abundant. I'm just so crazy abundant when I consider what some people are facing every single day. I've been thinking about that a lot. And I've thought about a lot in the past to where, when I wasn't making money, I was putting on my credit card, for people, over in Africa or whatever, wherever the villages were at the time. But like for them to receive the finance, because I felt like, well, they don't even have access to credit cards. I mean, like, like they don't even have that privilege or ability or whatever you want to
No?
call it. But so, yeah, we're so crazy abundant. I think that we really need to appreciate that far greater in our life. I think sometimes we really forget about that because we're like, oh, it's everything's so hard. I can't even afford a latte today or something.
Right.
It's like, come on. It's like you're so crazy, but it's insane, right? I know like people have come from other places and countries. They come, they see our fridges are packed full of food. They're like, oh my God, you guys are like kind of made here. So yeah, that's a big point of emphasis. So I know we only have so much time left to chat today. Unfortunately, I'd love to go on and on today. Do you have any last tips, first of all, for people today and then where can they go to check out more of what you have to offer?
Well, a couple of things. I'll just go quickly through the first 6 of the 9 money rules. I
Sure, sure.
mentioned
Mhm.
one is when you believe. So beliefs. 2 is trust your intuition. 3 is can happiness buy you money? Not can money
Mhm.
buy you happiness? Can happiness buy you money? 4 is visualize. Can visualize create more money in your life?
Mhm.
5 is gratitude, and then we mentioned 6 is giving.
Mhm.
So as you can imagine, the book is weighted towards the spiritual laws of prosperity.
Mhm.
My last thought is what I mentioned earlier. I think we're our own worst critic, and we are so hard on ourselves. And so people have gotten into our heads at growing up. You have to look at the downside scenario, the worst case scenario. What if this goes wrong? What if things go right? And so again, hashtag doubt the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the doubt's there, but you can doubt it. You don't have to believe in the doubt. You can believe in the dream. And think about what if things went well as opposed to what if things don't go well.
Right. Right. Changing those questions, right? In our mind is a master key for sure. Like, what if on the other side, what if everything's going to go amazingly well, better than I could possibly ever imagine? What if, right? Rather than all the fearful what ifs that plague people all the time. So that's awesome. And then they can go to your website, right? To
Yeah.
some things there for them.
Yeah. So salamour.com, SALAURMOR.com is my website. I have a free white paper. It's called The 5 Mistakes New Millionaires Make. And one of the things I teach is acting as if. So act as if you're a new millionaire, even if you aren't, and get the free white paper and read it and then take the action. And take the actions of those 5 steps, because you'll be acting as if you're on your way to becoming a millionaire.
Because the mistakes reveal like what you ought to be doing instead. So, right? Yeah.
Well, it's what, yeah. So it's like it's basically you just flip it. So if the mistake is hoarding, you know, then do the give. Right.
Right. Awesome. I look forward to checking that out myself as well. And really appreciate everything you've had to share today. And who knows, maybe we'll have you back again another time, because there's so much to explore within this topic. So as we're starting to wrap up today, usually what I do is I do a little quick tune in on with my guests. Are you ready to receive a couple of downloads?
Sure.
All right. Let me just go ahead and get a little bit more center for a second, and then I'll just start tuning in and share some cool things that I'm picking up on right now. Okay, interesting. Okay, so I'm getting the like with the fisherman kind of thing. So you're helping people to learn how to fish. Okay, so that's cool just in itself, just as a reminder. So it's very much like, it does remind me a lot of the biblical thing, kind of in a Jesus kind of energy too. Like one of, rather than like teach people how to be abundant, like, you know, let's not keep trying to help do handouts and give it, you know, like just the best thing I can do is help raise their consciousness. And so I'm going to teach you how to fish, rather than like people might want to come to people like you, like, hey, fund my thing. Hey, listen, I'll help you to learn how to fund it for yourself. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. So like you're teaching people how to fish is what they're saying. And this is really important. And the way you hold that is like, this is like actually creating a deeper connection with people, with life force itself, and who they truly are, and so you're doing it in this way right now, and that's amazing. So let me see what else may be coming through. Okay, so I'm getting some access maybe to some light language energy. So I don't know if you've played with that at all, but so I just share what comes through. They're just showing that there's maybe a slight bit of there might be a little bit of tightness around the 3D still in your system. So it's like, okay, like light language would help to align you even more, like getting that deeper frequency of the channel, and light language might be part of it. So like, yeah, they're showing me that because you're really have spent a lot of time grounding into the 3D reality and mastering that aspect of it. So they're like, okay, you know, you don't need to hang on to those old ancient fears, you know, that you have too. We all have fears. Like clear through those and align more with the higher vibrational energy, let more of it in. And this may be part of the way, perhaps. So I just share what comes through. Okay, let's see what else is coming through. Yeah, this giving thing is huge. Like you could be helping to create, like, who knows, I'm just throwing out a number, like thousands of like new foundations or centers that are giving to all the, specific causes or different causes. And I don't know, I just see like you're encouraging it so much with people, like we're so abundant, like let's circulate this abundance, because one of the things we didn't get into in the interview, but I think it's such an important principle. And I talked to my clients about this. I'm like, what would you rather have? Like $100 trillion that doesn't move, that just sits in the economy and never moves? Or would you rather have like 5 trillion that moves like incredibly fast? What would you prefer? And unfortunately, too many people say the 100 trillion. I'm like, no, you actually want circulation. The only thing that actually creates prosperity is the circulation of what we're calling, oh, I got this object of cash. Like, it's the circulation of this energy that's creating it. And so I guess what I'm saying is like, what you're doing is helping to mass accelerate the flow of it for everyone, and raising people's vibration and love and generosity and kindness. And at the same time, it's like, as we're giving, like maybe you have your own foundations, or maybe you already have like one of them or multiple, where we're raising your consciousness as we are providing you with maybe some financial assistance as part of the mix, right? So that's the other thing that's coming through right now. So yeah, that's about it. So just any quick thoughts or reflections on what was coming through?
Yeah, the first one, you can give a man a fish, and they have, so you can teach a man to fish, you can give a man a fish. You give a man a fish, he has fish for a day. You teach a man to fish, he has fish for life. So I teach in the 9 money rules, I teach DIY investing. I teach people how to do it themselves, that they don't have to rely on others. I'd say to my clients, you take full responsibility for all aspects of your life. And this is one that a lot of people give up. They just say, oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, I'm not good at math. Oh, I don't have the time. But you don't need any of that stuff. Those are all limiting beliefs. And so I go through with a 5th grade math education, and just a couple of hours a day, you can become an amazing investor. And the most amazing investors don't spend, they're not MBAs in finance. In fact, I don't have an MBA in finance. Right. So yeah, that's a great point. I like the light language energy. I appreciate that. And the circulation is really, I do have my own charity. It's called Solomore Charitable Giving. And I created that in 2022 in order to teach children financial literacy.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So it's like really helping people really see the deeper essence of the loving kindness that financial abundance provides. It seems to be a primary message you have for the world, and I super appreciate that.
And I appreciate you, Daniel. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's been awesome having you on the show today, and so I'm so grateful for that. And everybody, if you want to upgrade your money prosperity energy and learn more about how to utilize that energy in strategic ways as well, like through the investing and all those things as well, either or both, like, Joel's a person for you to turn to. If you like what you've heard, go check him out. It's Solomore.com. Solomore.com.
Yeah. So I give everyone 30 minutes free, by the way. So if you just, that's one of my gifts to the world. That's how I give. So if anybody just wants 30 minutes, no obligation. Sometimes some great stuff has happened in 30 minutes.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's a huge gift. Like, not too often can you get 30 minutes with somebody who's been, so prosperous that they're just going to give you that, and they're going to just want to give you value. They're not there to hook, line, and sinker kind of only call. Like, they're going to get true value. So definitely take advantage of that. All right. Well, again, thank you, Joel, for being on the show. We look forward to maybe having you back again. And I want to thank the audience. Thank you for tuning in. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone.
Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.